Hello Hammer Pattern subscribers, and welcome to the high-flying adventures of Turnip 28's Aunts Ascendant and their rogue weather balloon.
A pair of elderly spinsters blown off course. They are followed by a cavalcade of adoring worshippers and would-be sightseers. Dropping bricks and cutting remarks, they plummet into adventure and the unknown. This is not a leader unit or a special character unit. This is two old ladies who have blown off course and are being followed by a bunch of flunkies and weirdos.
After looking at the cults of Turnip 28, one of the units or sub-factions or cults that I fell in love with was the Aunts Ascendant. Their artwork is really cool concept for a weather balloon, but I wanted to take it to the next level, making this Da Vinci flying machine monstrosity. The weather balloon is made with the classic paper mache tinfoil ball wrapped in paper mache and glue, and then I took a metal brass rod, and the camera angle is weird here because this thing is actually extremely tall. I've built a tree which will probably get some foliage once it's all primed, because I want to give off the impression that this is flying through the air, hovering through the air. And I think it's turned out pretty dang cool. I've been using the nautical rigging to make it look like it is suspended. Otherwise, it's mostly just scrap balsa wood and I think maybe the old coffee stir sticks, and then some sort of spare parts, bells, and I think this is like a Warhammer Fantasy zombie banner that I've made into a little rope ladder. I'm really happy with the counterbalances. That's just green stuff and some more rope just to make it look like it's sort of in motion. A little bit of hobby chain here, and I've covered the wing, the little Da Vinci wings, which are made of toothpicks, with little rhinestones to look like rivets. The other thing that I did was I ripped up an old pair of pajama pants, and using a lot of glue and some, I think I used paintbrushes to sort of give them to lay them out, made these flags to sort of give it some motion. For the balloon as well, I did use some just scrap fabric for patches just to give it some textural detail. I didn't want things to look too the same, and so I wanted to have as many different textures and shapes and bits and bobs as I could. But I'm pretty dang happy with this. So now with the sub-assemblies ready, it is time to prime.
After I had primed the balloon, I started off by hitting all of the wood and the wings and the tree with a couple of coats of various browns, dry brushing everything and making sure that I was getting a lot of different tones and colors on the wood. All the dry brushing resulted in the balloon support that I had built snapping off, so I would have to fix that later, and I found a pretty good solution. I gave the balloon a dry brush of white and painted the flags a off-white using Rakarth flesh, and the ropes a brown. I covered the entire balloon with skeleton horde, a contrast paint, mostly to give it a more sepia tone look. Giving the balloon some details with stripes was important to sort of break up that solid yellow off-white color, so I gave the whole balloon a bunch of bands and did a little bit of a highlight with some orange. For the rigging, I used a light brown, almost an orange color, and then washed it with a brown contrast paint to give it a little bit more visual detail. All of the metallics for this project were done with a basic silver paint, and then using a dirty down rust effect paint on top of that to give it a heavily worn and very rusty look. I painted the ants the way that I've painted most of my turnip miniatures. Heavy dry brush of brown, heavy dry brush of lighter brown, and then going in with details in kind of a splotchy, not quite covering everything sort of vibe. Getting the vegetables, the mask, and the pant legs with white, and then going with a burgundy on the cloak. Not quite covering all of it so that we got to keep a little bit of that grunge on the undercoats. For the color scheme for the two ants, I did use the same two primary colors that I've used for the majority of my other turnip miniatures, focusing on a traditional Napoleonic French army. For these two characters specifically, I utilized the lighter blue and off-red burgundy, but swapped the two sort of primary colors, so that the main color for one was blue, and the other main color for the other was red, and vice versa, keeping them similar, but not too regimented.
Really wanted to do this project because just reading the two taglines about the Aunts Ascendant really got me interested in them. The ants have a special ability that allows you to decide what direction any unit on the table falls back in, which has all kinds of interesting possibilities in Turnip 28. They're also extremely fast, having a base movement speed of 24. On a board that's generally between 36 inches and 48 inches, a 24-inch movement speed is exceptionally fast. The other dangers that they pose for the turnip folk is dropping potted plants or bricks or other heavy objects from atop their balloon. The way that this is represented in the game is any unit that is moved over by the Aunts Ascendant has to immediately take a dangerous terrain test. Hopefully your opponent can roll a lot of ones and you can throw a lot of bricks at your opponent. I had an absolute blast building this airship. I love things like Guns of Icarus, I love steampunk, I love hot air balloons, and this is probably one of the most involved projects I've done for Turnip 28. Detailing the little table with the cartography equipment and the notebook, designing the two ants and giving them a lot of character, as well as having the little dead guy being hit in the head with a brick on the ground to really tie the whole thing together. I just am so happy with how this turned out, and I hope that you have enjoyed watching my process. This has been Lane from Hammer Pattern with another Turnip 28 hobby vlog, and I hope to catch you again on our next Turnip 28 adventure.